Good Shabbos. This week is Parshas Truma, but with Purim coming soon, I'm going to continue speaking about Megillas Esther and Purim. In the previous session, talked about Achashverosh and how he represents the physical world, which is really neutral, and the question is who controls him, whether the forces of good or the forces of evil control him. And this week, I'd like to focus on, again, the forces of good and forces of evil, and focus on Haman and Mordechai. And Haman is very easy to depict, as was mentioned previously. When Esther is asked, who is the one who is causing you all this harm, wants to destroy the Jewish people, when she's asked by Achashverosh, she says, Ish tsarva oyev Haman harazeh, this enemy who's afflicting us, Haman hara hazeh, Haman the evil one. So she clearly says, and the Megillah has the words that Haman represents Ra. And who is he called? He's called Haman HaAgagi. And Agagi, simply, if you know the stories back in the prophets, Agag was the king of Amalek. Saul, the first king, was supposed to wipe out all of Amalek and kill Agag, and he allowed Agag to remain. And he is then confronted by Shmuel, by Samuel the prophet, and he loses his kingdom as a result, and it's passed on to David later on. So what does Haman represent? Haman represents Amalek. Amalek is the true enemy of the Jewish people. We understand that, again, some of this is somewhat midrashic when we talk about Esav and how bad he was, but Esav is understood to be the antithesis of Yaakov. He's out to kill him, literally and figuratively. And then his grandson Amalek, the nation of Amalek, which comes from Esav, is the first people or nation to attack the Jewish people, and we're commanded to wipe out the nation of Amalek. That's one of the mitzvahs of the Jewish people, and specifically the king, which Shaul was supposed to do. Shaul failed to destroy Agag. He didn't wipe out the last remnant of Amalek, and Haman remains, and therefore Haman is left again to try to kill and to destroy the Jewish people. So he represents the essence of Esav, which is in a sense personified in Amalek and in the king Agag, and now passed on to Haman. Haman represents the true forces of evil in this world. Mordechai, on the other hand, who does he represent? He represents Shaul, because if you look at his lineage, the Megillah goes back in lineage back to very parallel to Shaul, to Saul, and therefore we understand that Mordechai is really from the Shevet Binyamin, from the tribe of Binyamin, even though he's called Ish Yehudi, which sounds like he's from the tribe of Yehuda. The commentaries in the Gemara deal with this, but it very simply might mean that he was Jewish. At that point, most Jews were called Yehudi, were called Jewish, because most of the people who remained from Shevet Yehuda, from the tribe of Yehuda. But Mordechai himself was from the tribe of Binyamin. And if you go back, when it talks about Shaul and it gives his lineage, it calls him, the Navi, the prophet, calls him Tov. He was good. So again, it's not clear, but Mordechai is linked back to the lineage of Shaul. Shaul is called good. He's from the tribe of Binyamin, and now, according to the Medrash, Mordechai's job is to finish what Shaul didn't do. Shaul was supposed to kill and wipe out the remnants of Amalek. He didn't. Now Mordechai has that job. He's there to rectify the sin of Shaul. Now it's very interesting also when we talk about Shaul coming from the tribe of Binyamin. Again, midrashically speaking, Binyamin represents pure innocence, because if you look at the story in the Torah, when Yaakov confronts Esav after he leaves his house of Lavan, his father-in-law, on the way back to Israel, he and all of the people with him bow down to Esav. Who doesn't bow down? Binyamin. Why? Because Binyamin wasn't born. So we understand that Binyamin represents sort of the pure innocence of the Jewish people who did not bow down to Esav. Mordechai now becomes very obvious he did not bow down to Haman. He still represents that pure goodness, that pure tov, that pure innocence, that again, whether practically speaking he should have bowed down, because that's a question that you should ask. Why didn't he bow down? He caused almost the destruction of the Jewish people. Symbolically represents that the forces of good in this world will never give in, will never cave in, will never bow to the forces of evil, to the Hamans of this world. And again, midrashically speaking, we're told that although the temple rests in the land of the tribe of Yehuda. The Kodesh Kodashim, the Holy of Holies, is actually just a little piece of the land of the land of Binyamin, of Benjamin, sticks into where the temple was. There's a little piece of land, and on that piece of land is the Kodesh Kodashim, is the Holy of Holies. So again, there's the sense that the Holy of Holies is represented by Binyamin. Binyamin is pure. And therefore, Mordechai represents that goodness and that ultimate force of goodness that cannot possibly bow down to Mordechai. And he becomes, in the Kabbalistic terms, and going with the theme of the Mag, Mordechai becomes what you call Tiferes, which translates simply as beauty, but it represents the heart of the Sephirotic realm. The Sephirotic realm is really a microcosm or a macrocosm of the human body, and whereas Avram and Yitzchak represent the right and the left arm, Yaakov represents the heart. That's Tiferes. And Mordechai here represents, in a sense, the heart, because Yaakov is the essence of the Jewish people. All of the Jewish people come from Yaakov. Yaakov is complete. He's Shalem. It says, Vayava Yaakov Shalem Yeshchem. Yaakov came complete to the city of Shechem, so it calls him complete. And why? Again, they understand because all of his children are part of the Jewish people. Not like Avram, who has Yishmael, not like Yitzchak, who has Esav. All of Yaakov's children become the Shiftei Kah, become the tribes of the Jewish people. And as a result, Yaakov is, Kabbalistically, is understood to be the Tiferes. Is called beauty. It's also associated with emes, with truth. It's also associated with the name of Hashem, the four-letter name of God. And that, again, might be why he's called Ish Yehudi. Yehudi has in there the letters, the name Yehuda at least, has the letters of Yud He and Vav He, the four-letter name of God. So they give him an appellation which reminds us of the idea of the name of God, which is Tiferes, which is beauty, which is the center of the Jewish people and the center of the divine realm, and that's what Mordechai represents. So we'll leave with that, and next week we'll come back to now how Esther fits into all this, and hopefully you see sort of a picture where Mordechai and Esther, as I mentioned last week, become a team to defeat the Hamans of the world and to control the provinces and the known world of Achashverosh, the 180 provinces. Good Shabbos.